What's up, guys? Welcome to Beyond Politics, an in-depth conversation where we bring our perspective to relevant political topics of the day. I'm your host, Jared, and with me, as always, to talk about the presidential debate is Seth. Seth, how you doing today, man?
Doing great. Ready to get into this, man. I think it was a good debate. I think it was more feisty than the last one. There were some intense jabs at each other. There was quite big accusations against each other, and so I'm just excited to get the conversation rolling.
Dude, can I just say that, like, how insane is it that the two presidential candidates, one is investigated by the FBI, and the other one is basically a pathological liar? Like,
wait, you just described Hillary Clinton twice.
There you go. Which one was it? Nailed it.
Yeah, and then especially after
crazy.
the video that came out this past week with the Trump man, like,
yeah,
that's
I was
our
interested
presidential
to.
Candidate.
Yeah, no, I'm interested to hear your thought on that. What do you think? Do you think that'll affect his campaign, the election cycle? Do you think people don't really care because they just kind of expect that from people nowadays? Like, yeah. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think that says about the culture in America?
Well, I mean, that's a loaded question, both of those. But I mean, I think as for Trump, I'm not convinced it will affect him. I think he's been saying outlandish things all throughout his presidential candidacy, and it doesn't seem to affect him. If it was any other politician, I think they would be destroyed and they'd be done. But he's pretty resilient.
Well, yeah,
Trump.
He gets graded on the Trump curve, so.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, personally, it was horrible. I mean, it was horrible. He likened it to what locker room talk is what he said the reason was, and that's not really an excuse, I don't think. I think that's just being like, well, you know, we say awful things because we're in a locker room. Yeah, but you still said the stuff. I think it makes me want to vote for him less. I don't want to vote for him, but I also don't want Hillary to go in. Like, I will vote for whatever hurts Hillary the most. But it was kind of disgusting, and it was 10 years ago. But I mean, things like that don't go away in a person, especially when they're, what was he, 58 when that happened, you know? Like, that's not just
yeah.
it wasn't like a middle schooler that just learned a new word. Like, these are things. Do I think that he actually acted on it? No, I don't think at all. I think he was just saying stuff, talking to his buddies, but he still said it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. People are like, oh, this was 11 years ago and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, it was 11 years ago when Trump was in his youthful age of 59. Like, you know what I mean? He's been around for 59 years. You know, at that time, you have your morals, your principles, your values. Those are already kind of laid down by that time, you know? Mm-hmm. What drives me crazy is when you have Trump supporters who I understand voting for Trump to stop Hillary, or I could even understand if you're on the other side voting for Hillary to stop Trump. But what I don't understand is when people defend either candidate, they feel like they have to defend them on every single issue or every single thing that pops up. You know what I mean? That drives me crazy. Like when people have to feel like they have to defend Hillary on the email scandals or Trump on his videos or, you know, whatever outlandish things he says. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think you're totally allowed to say that was horrible and I hate that, and I think it makes Donald Trump like horrible. I'm still going to vote for him. Like, it's okay to not, like, you need to be able to criticize and evaluate your votes, and to just blindly be like, well, it doesn't matter, I'm voting for him, that's not a big deal. Like, you need to realize that it is a big deal, and you can still vote for him. That's not, you can think it's bad and still vote for him because you can think that Hillary did something worse, but don't try to like walk it off like, oh, it was nothing, it was 11 years ago, locker room talk, you know. No, I mean, acknowledge that it was bad and be like, I'm still gonna vote for him, but I do think that was horrible.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. And that's what creates an even bigger divide between, you know, the left or right or Republicans, Democrats, whatever you want to call it. Like when you have the 10% on either side that defends their candidate to the end, it makes all the people in the middle feel like anyone on that side is totally unreasonable. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what creates an even bigger divide. That's what we're dealing with today.
Yeah, and like, it just, you lose like logic in that when you're just so blindly voting for someone. There's no logic, there's no reasoning, and I think for me personally, it makes me very hard to like think that you're not making an educated vote at that point. You're making a vote based on blind hatred, whether it's blind hatred or just blind love. Some people just love Hillary, and she's a woman, and there's nothing that she could ever do that was going to make them be like, well, she's not an amazing person.
Yeah, no, at that point you're just doing party politics at that point. You're just voting whatever party you think you identify with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to see about that. So moving on to the debate then. What do you think? Who do you think won? What do you think were strong points for each candidate? What's your opinion?
Okay. I think that right out of the gate, I mean, they addressed the video that we just talked about.
Yeah.
I think that made sense. Like, you kind of had to get it out and over with. I think Trump did a pretty good job. I mean, acknowledging it and saying, "Listen, it was bad." I think the locker room talk thing was kind of whatever.
I thought it was pretty weak, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's better than Hillary. All right, so I hate doing that because a lot of people are like, well, it was bad, but they did it worse. And that's not an excuse to do bad things if someone's done something worse. But I think that it is better than lying about it and then eventually telling the truth, you know? Like, just straight up be like, I said it. It happened. I'm sorry. I think it was very good that he had the women from Bill Clinton. It made him look like there were, like, not every woman hates him, and I think if you can see women that are able to sit on his side or whatever, that's better, I would think.
Yeah, especially women that were in, or were sexually assaulted and had all of these conflicts
allegedly
with Bill Clinton. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, you're not going to convict one of them of anything. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought he did a good job of he briefly addressed it. And then he moved on to ISIS immediately right after. So, I mean, that's really all you can do in that situation, you know. I mean, you address it and then you just try and get off topic as soon as possible. And you see later on Hillary does the exact same thing with the email scandal. So it's basic debating tactics 101 that both of them kind of were able to do.
The moderators let it go too, which was good. Like, they could have continually hammered it like throughout the whole debate, and I would have been like, seriously, we talked about it. There's other things to talk about. I think they did a good job at that point about addressing it, getting his comment on it. I also think it was really good when Anderson Cooper like made him be like, he was like, have you done those things? And then Trump tried to swerve the question, and he was like, no, did you do these? And Trump said no. I don't know why he wouldn't just say no right out the gate. That was weird.
No. So I was doing some research on that, and so the way this video or this audio, whatever you want to call it, audio video recording was released, is it was actually the property of NBC. They recorded this when he was on the show The Apprentice because they aired that show originally, and apparently, or this is speculation, but NBC has a lot of other recordings of him saying these types of things.
Really?
And so what a lot of people are thinking was Anderson Cooper's kind of angle at this was to try to get Trump to say that, no, I have never, sexually assaulted a woman without her consent or something like that, which he did. And then, all this week they're going to release more tapes, more audio and stuff like that of women saying, yes, he has, audio of Trump saying that he has. So that'll be interesting. We'll see. But I think that might have been Anderson Cooper's angle on that. But, that's yet to be determined.
That seems a little outlandish. I mean, I think it was just Anderson Cooper.
We'll see. I think there is going to be more audio, and there will be more women who come forth to say that, Trump did do these things.
Well, has any women come forth yet?
Not yet. Not yet, but it's only one day after the recording, or it's only one day after the debate. So I mean, it's not.
But it's a while after the video. Why did it get released all of a sudden, though? That's a weird thing. Like, were they holding on to it and like, hey, let's drop it now?
No, NBC had this audio since 2005. So apparently it was leaked to the Washington Times because the Washington Times got credit for the story. They were the ones who originally posted it. Washington Post. Yeah, you're right. No.
Okay.
However, it is NBC's recording, and apparently people who work at NBC have tweeted out, who worked on The Apprentice with Donald Trump, have tweeted out that there are plenty more audio and video tapes where this came from. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out.
You're getting into some pretty heavy speculation at that point.
Yeah, no, whatever. It's definitely speculation.
Yeah.
But man, dude, he had some. There were definitely some jabs in there. I think this was Hillary. Hillary could have completely shut Donald Trump down in this debate.
I thought she was going to.
I think so.
Totally
she played
expected her
it
to
so
wipe
defensive.
the floor with him on this debate.
Yeah, she was very defensive in this debate, and I don't know why. She could have just gone on the attack, and I think she could have just kind of ended it once and for all, because leading up to the debate, the polling had become less and less tight. It got really tight maybe about 3 weeks ago, kind of middle of September, and then, leading up to this debate, she had about a 4-point swing in the polls, in all the major polls. So if she had hit it hard, especially with this video, that was before the video released. So with this video releasing, and if she had hit it hard, I think that she really could have just sent it home. But she played the defense card the whole time, and Trump was on the offense for, the latter half of the debate, which just barely keeps him in the game, I think.
Do you think that she's scared to hammer him home on the video because, it wouldn't be hard for him to turn around and hammer her home on videos? Because there's videos all over the internet, all over everywhere, of her completely contradicting everything she says, or most things that she says. Like, it wouldn't be that hard to just turn the tables on her. And so by her not, going ham at it, she's not giving him the option to do that either. Like rules of engagement almost.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna super attack you for it, and then you don't super attack me for that. Let's have an understanding.
I don't know. If you go back and watch the debate, she tried to attack him. But whenever she would attack him, he would deflect it and just move on to accusing her of other things, which then she had to defend. So I don't know if that was the strategy. It might have been. Because she was clearly on the defense the whole time. But I thought she underperformed, and I thought Donald Trump overperformed for what people expected him to do. That doesn't mean that I think that he won the debate, because I'm not saying that. But I think that he survived the debate, and he made it through, which I think honestly is his goal at this point. Because I don't know, if you look at the polls, it's not looking too good for Republicans right now.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think of him coming out and saying that if he becomes, or of course he said when he becomes president, he's going to have a special prosecutor to look into Clinton's case to put her in jail?
I honestly don't think he'll do that at all. I think he was pandering to his supporters at that point.
Does anyone think that's actually going to happen? I felt really out of place, and I was like, you're taking it all the way there, man, and I really don't think anyone expects you to even...
Yeah, you already had a federal investigation by the FBI, and whether you agree with it or not, I personally don't, but they decided not to further investigate her case at all.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's not going to go anywhere. That actually hurt him a lot with certain moderates or undecided voters, because they're thinking that's very similar to certain dictators and stuff like that who try and jail their opponents.
Yeah, using all their power to take out a person.
Yeah, while it was definitely a zinger, and then when she was talking about Donald Trump's doesn't have the temperament to be president, and he said, yeah, because if I was, you'd be in jail. Those are zingers and stuff like that, but it really
it's like a wrestling match, dude. It's like a wrestler that has a one-liner as he walks off stage, and you're like, oh,
yeah, but
it's ridiculous.
Donald Trump needs to pull in moderates and undecided voters. He's already got the people who are on his bandwagon, which is those comments appeal to those types of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He needs to pull in the moderates and stuff like that, which I didn't think that he really did. I think that he didn't cause anybody to leave him who already supported him, but I don't think that he brought in any new voters.
I don't think either one of them at this point are really going to get new voters. They're going to get the moderates, because the moderates or whatever are going to be, when they come to election time, they're just going to have to be like, well, I have to pick one, or I just don't vote. I really don't think either one of them can do or say anything, because I think most people that are undecided hate both of them. There's not one that's like, you know what, there's good points on Trump's side, good points on Hillary's side. I just don't know who to vote for because I agree with them on some parts. It's
more like, which one do I disagree with most, and I'll vote for the other person.
Yeah. It's bad, dude. Man, it's bad.
What do you think about I don't know the exact number, but there was in the teens amount of Republican senators who have unendorsed Trump, and I think there's a dozen of them who have called for him to drop out and them appoint another Republican nominee. What do you think about that?
White noise. I mean, I think it might be smart for them. Honestly, as we've talked about before, Trump being on the Republican platform, I think, is a bad thing because he is not a Republican. Like, he's really just not.
He doesn't adequately represent the party.
Exactly. And so I think it's smart for these I mean, I applaud them. If they really don't like him and they don't agree with him, don't endorse him. Why are you endorsing him if you don't believe in what he says? Like, don't endorse him. I don't care if he's on your party. Don't endorse him if you don't think it's you believe in what he says. So I like that. I mean, I don't think it's going to do anything. I don't think there's anyone like, oh, I wonder how many, he lost endorsements, I'm not going to vote for him now. I don't think anyone's going to do that. But I think it saves their skin, and I think I respect them if they really dislike what he says. That's perfect. That's how they can show people that they don't agree with this. And then if he gets into office and he does horrible things, they can be like, I didn't have his back. I never agreed with him. But then you have the certain people that endorsed him that might not believe in him, but were like, we must endorse him because he's the Republican candidate. Now they're stuck with whatever he does.
Yeah.
Because they backed him.
Yeah.
That's why I was really upset when Bernie endorsed Hillary. Like, I don't like Bernie. I don't like Hillary. But why'd you endorse her, man? Like, you don't have any of the same views as her.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I thought that Bernie Sanders did a great job of diagnosing, the problems with America. I don't believe that his solutions were correct at all.
No.
But I think that he diagnosed the problem correctly.
And he was consistent. I mean, you could go back and
up until the end when he endorsed Hillary.
He was actually consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and people have a similar problem with Ted Cruz and stuff like that, who ended up endorsing Donald Trump in the end.
Yeah.
People on the conservatives kind of find that insulting and stuff like that, but I don't know, man. It's definitely a bloodbath. It's crazy. So
I mean, I thought also which was funny, dude, is Bill Clinton got nailed multiple times in the debate. Like, he was probably sitting there like, hey, stop. I went through this already. Don't make this about me. But he got hit multiple times.
Dude, I loved it, man.
Being
it would just
impeached about the sexual assault cases. Like, he got railed on, man. And he's probably sitting there like, oh, I hate my life.
Yeah, the camera would just pan over to him. And he'd just be sitting there with a blank face as Donald Trump is saying he got impeached. He had sexual assault charges, all this kind of stuff.
And I mean, on one hand, I think that's shifting the attack. It's like the same way that Democrats with the Bush thing, they would always just go back to Bush. Like, well, Bush did this. But it's like, no, like Obama's whole re-election thing against Mitt Romney. He kept going back to Bush and how Bush messed it up and how he's done better. And it's like, go after Romney. That's who you're against. Don't go back someone in the past. Like, I understand a little bit Trump going after Bill, but at the same time, focus on Hillary. There's enough you can go after. I don't think that.
I agree.
It's like Bill's policies aren't her policies. Now, policies that she did sign on to and endorse, yes, go after those. Like, there are plenty of those of Bill's that she at the time endorsed, and now she's saying she didn't. That's okay, but just to go after Bill, it seems a little not useful, like not a useful tactic.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, because the people that he's trying to gain when he goes after Bill, I mean, the majority of people who get offended by stuff that they heard about Bill Clinton are women, honestly. And women are going to side more with Hillary than somebody like...
I wouldn't.
No, hold on.
That.
Let me finish. Somebody, like, if you're just watching the debate and you're undecided, they're gonna side more with Hillary, not because she's a woman, but they're gonna side more with her because if they hear that audio of what Trump said, basically,
I don't agree with that.
Basically saying that he sexually assaults women, and then Hillary.
You're assuming that's the only information they've ever heard was his audio tape of Bill. No, I assume that they know enough that they can look back at Hillary's track record and see that she hasn't been consistent.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that Hillary has not sexually assaulted anyone or said that she does. The worst thing that they can pin on Hillary is being married to somebody who's like that. Whereas Donald Trump himself, there's actual audio of him saying that he has done these things. So I'm just saying that
there's also audio of Hillary laughing about getting a rapist off a case. Like, I don't think that's
true, but it's not nearly as widespread.
True, but that doesn't make it any less true. I don't care how widespread something is. I think that like women aren't just going to vote for Hillary because they saw this one thing. No, I think they're educated enough. They're people. Like they're not just going to be like, oh, like I mean, and I think a lot of women also can see that tape and be like, it was whatever. Like it's just words. I mean, at the end of the day, it is. I don't know. It is just words. It didn't bother me that much. I thought it was horrible. I don't think like it's to go to jail or anything. I mean, it's just talk.
Yeah, I mean, it is like the point that Donald Trump said. It is just talk compared to what Bill did, which was actually, yeah. doing it, which is much worse. But still, when you think about a presidential candidate, I mean, this is the highest office in the land, saying that he's trying to do these things with married women. I mean, that's like how far has America come? You know what I mean?
Well, all right, listen. Let's not act like presidents were great. I mean, you go back to old presidents. They raped their slaves all the time, and that was horrible. And so, I mean, I don't think presidents have ever been perfect. So, I mean, look at Bill. I mean, you go back, and presidents have been bad. Now we have video evidence of it that's going to be harder to forget. But let's not forget that there have been scandals with many, many presidents. It's
That's
not
true,
like
but typically it came out after the fact, where they had already been elected and they had already been in that position. Whereas if Donald Trump were to still maintain enough support and get elected after this came out, I feel like that would show a collapse of morals and values in America. Which
I would argue that
happening.
I would argue that putting Hillary in office is a bigger collapse of morals and values. But
that's a valid argument to be had.
Yeah. What do you think of the moderators? How do you think they did?
I'm forgetting. Can you look up the name of the female moderator? I'm forgetting her name. I think Anderson. I'm thinking Anderson Cooper did a pretty good job. He was definitely trying to hit Trump hard in the beginning on the audio recording, but I think rightfully so, because it's a huge story. It's probably the biggest story of his campaign. So I think that was fair game for him to try and hit and nail him on an answer. And then he did a good job. Every time one of the nominees would talk, I timed it. And Anderson Cooper pretty much jumped in at about 2 minutes, and he told them both when each of their time was up. So I thought he did a pretty good job. The questions were fairly balanced from him. He had a couple zingers.
Martha Raddatz was the other one.
Okay, yeah. So at one point, she started debating Trump.
Yes. What the hell?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you have moderators trying to debate nominees, that's crazy. And what all that does is that brings in more sympathy for Trump from undecided voters, because then all of a sudden they feel like it's 3-on-1 as opposed to 2 nominees and then a moderator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought she did a terrible job. I think
she did better towards the end. I think towards the end,
but
I feel like someone in her ear was like, "You need to fix this because you debated Trump." Because towards the end, she was yelling at Hillary, she was yelling at Trump. I thought she was on point. They were both on point towards the end, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to go back. I just thought it's always kind of biased typically. I mean, if you look at the last couple of debates, the vice presidential debate moderator was completely biased towards Tim Kaine. Yeah. And Lester Holt did a decent job, but he even still interrupted Trump more and cut him off at the time. But I thought this debate was, if she hadn't have kind of had that outburst where she debated Trump, I thought this would have been one of the more fair moderating debates. But, it is what it is. And really, as a Republican candidate, I mean, when you're going on to CNN or NBC or something like that, you have to be prepared for that. Just like if they had a debate that was hosted by Fox, a more liberal candidate coming in would have to be prepared for that too. So
yeah, and it's sad that you have to realize that, but I mean, but it's
the reality.
The bias
we live
is deep rooted in those corporations, and you just can't get it out.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Do you know who's moderating the final debate?
I don't even know what station is carrying it. It'll be interesting.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought the last question was very interesting, where they both had to say something good about the other candidate.
Yes.
I thought
He destroyed that question, man.
he did. He ended strong. Trump ended strong. Hillary tried to kind of. Well, I don't know. It wasn't really the high road because
It
I
looked
mean,
bad, dude. She was
yeah.
like, "I like his kids," and like Trump can nail
And then
it, man.
Trump was basically
I thought-
just like, I take that as a compliment, and she never gives up, and we're done.
yeah. And it honestly, I don't know. It honestly makes me look. It made me look at Trump and be like, I think that he does act in the moment and get like in the moment, and I don't think that it's always things that he says in the moment are what he thinks, you know? Because he has like outbursts and Twitter. He has a lot on Twitter, but I think Twitter allows that easier. Like it's a
Yeah.
quick. But I mean, I think he'd be a person that could leave it on the table. I think Hillary's someone that'll bring a knife to the table, hoping to stab you. That's just my personal thing. But I don't know. I thought he destroyed the last question, and I thought it was great to end on that note with Trump.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it ended strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even still with Trump's performance, there's the majority of the sites, the CNN poll and stuff like that, still have Hillary beating him in the debate.
In the debate, really?
Yeah. The CNN poll, gosh, had Hillary win by 23 points, which I don't agree with personally.
All right.
I think that's a little biased.
Yeah.
But a couple other kind of well-known polls had it at about Hillary winning by 5%.
I would say
which I
that
could
Trump
see,
won
but-
the same amount that Hillary won the first one.
Yeah, no, if you look at it, it was really complete opposite of the first one. In the first one, Trump started off on the offense really strong the first 30 minutes, and then the second half, Hillary just kind of dominated and had Trump on the defense, whereas it was the complete opposite in this debate, where Trump kind of got his butt handed to him in the beginning with the audio tape, and then he just took it on the offense the whole rest of the time and was drilling Hillary about the email scandals. He had those jabs about her being in jail. And then obviously it ended on a pretty strong note for him. But it's really sad how the debates have just turned into personal jabs, and they don't discuss policy at all.
I mean, what the most policy we got was immigration, and that really wasn't even that much.
Well, and neither one of them go into depth about it at all.
Yeah. Like, and I like that there's a one that Trump, like, they kept wanting to go in depth, and he was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it's like, no, well, tell us how. And he just didn't. And I think that's what would be interesting. Like, let people know, because, like, words are words.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree, but I honestly don't think that Trump would have an answer. Like,
I
and
don't
whether
think he
you
might
whether
know it.
you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, like, yeah, Trump might surround himself with the smartest and the brightest people, you could say, so he doesn't really need to have an answer for it. But I
Yeah.
personally think that the president of the United States should be able to answer any questions that are thrown at him from these moderators. So
I don't know. I mean, I can understand the delegation of that information and not necessarily knowing it. There's a funny thing. There's a thing with architects, not to get too far off, but architects, there's this ideology that they need to be able to know a little bit about everything with the building, but none of the details really. Like, they know that this is the window and this is the spec they did, but like how to build the window, that's up to the contractor for the windows, or the plumbing. They let the plumber do the plumbing. They just lay out the general idea. And I think that's similar to that, where the president needs to
Yeah.
have his hand in all of these buckets, but he doesn't necessarily need to know what they all are.
yeah, I agree. It's just a fine line between how much they need to know about each thing.
Yeah, and like
You know
not
what I mean?
knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
So-
I agree.
I thought it was interesting. One thing though, so after this debate, after the video, after everything, Trump is really down in these polls, man. Hillary is definitely beating him.
I honestly, I put no stock in polls. So
I know you don't, but these polls have been historically fairly accurate.
yeah,
So
but I
just for
mean,
people to
what is
look up.
fairly accurate? Didn't they have Obama and Romney close?
They had Obama and Romney close, but they had Obama winning.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't. He was less close than McCain. Like, I just
Yeah,
don't-
and that's true. And historically, the polls have been off, especially with the European polls with the whole Brexit. They had,
Yeah.
that they would stay, up to 5%, and they won just over 5%. So I mean,
Yeah.
the polls have been a little bit more skewed recently. But however, if you're still looking at these polls, I mean, you're looking at sites like 538, which are trusted polling sites, which have been around for a long time, and they're showing that Hillary has 82.8% and Trump has 17.2%. That is down a lot. That's not a 10% difference or a 5% difference, you know. That's a lot. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's pretty unpredictable. I think you have a lot of voters that might not want to admit that they're going to vote for Trump, but they might end up doing it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more hostility to come out as a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because you have such a dislike of both of these candidates. It's really hard to tell with polling.
Dude, I will say, man, to get back just to the debate real quick, like, Hillary has her dang, like, resting smile face nailed. Holy crap, man. Trump's walking around his chair constantly, but Hillary is just sitting there like a freaking statue, man, smiling.
Yes.
I'm just like, oh, you've nailed this. Like, she has that on point.
It's plastered on her face, man.
Dude, I was just like,
talking.
wow.
I wish I could, like, know what she's thinking when he's speaking.
Dude, what
you know
I wouldn't
what I mean?
give, man.
I know. Oh, it'd be so entertaining. And then Trump's face, man, where he just looks into the camera and he squints his eyes and he's got that whole thing going on.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's
They're
great.
so different in that regard. It's nuts.
Yeah, as in, like, Hillary's poised for the most part and Trump is not at all.
I don't know if we want to talk about it, but did you know that there is now there's a website loophole for buying guns? Apparently.
There's a what?
As named. Hillary wanted to talk about closing the gun show loophole, and then it was either the website loophole or the online loophole, which I didn't know existed. But apparently, there's another loophole that we need to close that doesn't exist.
Oh, another one. Yes, we'll have to close all the loopholes that don't exist. That would be great.
I hope. I mean, I don't know. It's an important topic to me, and I think you too. Maybe not to most people, but they really haven't gotten into the Second Amendment much. And I'm hoping in the third debate that they do. Like, what do you want them to go at in the third debate? Like,
no,
do
I
you want
think
them
they
to keep
will.
taking
Honestly, I really think that the reason that they haven't brought up the second, and this, you know, I don't know, people might not agree with this, but I mean, we've had NBC and CNN host these, which are typically more liberal leaning news networks. Yeah. And the second amendment is a winning issue among Republicans. The majority of people agree with the Second Amendment and don't want guns to be regulated by the government. That's a fact. The majority of Americans believe that. So it's really a losing issue for Democrats. So the more that they don't bring it up and they don't talk about it, the better that they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
So we'll see. I know it's going to be brought up because obviously Hillary does not shy away from talking about it. And neither does Donald Trump. So I really do think that it will be brought up in the second or in the third debate, the last one. But to what extent will be interesting to see.
Gotcha.
And it was really disappointing because on the first debate, you had Trump agreeing with Hillary about the no-fly list with the Second Amendment.
The
which
one
is a big
thing
deal
they
for me.
agreed on, and it was that. I was just like, are you kidding me?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, how do you violate somebody's constitutional rights without any trial, without any jury, without them being convicted of anything? You just get put
without
on this
them even
list,
knowing, bro.
and then you lose your right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And then people have the argument of, well, they can't fly, they should be able to buy guns. And it's like, yeah, flying is not a constitutional right. All right? There's no 32nd Amendment that says you have the right to, you know, fly to another country, air travel, whatever. You know what I mean? That's not a thing.
Yeah.
The Second Amendment was designed for the people to be able to protect themselves against government tyranny. I mean, so
a well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure would be highly illegal if we tried to have a well-regulated militia. But that dude, and I mean, I think a lot of people, they don't listen to that. They hear no-fly list and terrorists, and they're like, well, obviously, if we have a terrorist on a no-fly list, they shouldn't have a gun. It's like, yes, in a perfect world, that makes sense, but it's not perfect.
It sounds great.
it's been proven to be exploited already. So screw that, dude.
Yeah.
No way.
I mean, it sounds great. It's the same thing, you know, it sounds great, but it's not going to happen. It's the same thing where the argument where if you ban guns, they're all going to be gone. You know, it sounds great. I honestly, if it would mean that there would be no gun violence in the United States, I would give up my Second Amendment right probably. If no one would ever die.
If you could make every single gun disappear and you couldn't bring one in, like if you tried to, it would just like disappear at the border, 100%.
Yeah, that's not I would, but that's not going to happen. It's not realistic. So I don't know. It's a faulty argument.
So keep in mind, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, so if you were to I'm putting you on the spot here, but if you were to bring forth a question to them, what would be one that you would ask?
To Hillary or to Trump?
To the debate, because you know, like when they had people in this one, they had people bring up questions, and they both got to answer.
Yeah. Well, the question that I would probably ask is what do they think the role of government is? Because I think that is probably the most fundamental thing that everyone needs to know about a presidential candidate. Like, do you think that it means that they need to provide health care, they need to provide security, they need to provide welfare? Like, what all does the role of government play? I personally think that the role of government is to protect its citizens, protect them physically, protect their land, protect their property,
and their rights, not stripping them of their rights.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that we have unalienable rights, so as long as they're not infringing on them, it's not the role of government to give to you or take away your rights. So that's what I believe. I think that's basically it.
That'd be a great question, actually.
That's what I would ask.
That's a great question.
Yeah. No, and I mean, any of you guys listening, sound off. Tell us what you think the role of government is. You know what I mean? What do you think that it is that the government should be doing?
Yeah.
And you know, you can look at it from a constitutional standpoint, and it's the founders very clearly laid out what they think the role of government is. And I just hate when people try and twist their words and stuff like that. If you think that the role of government should be more than what the founders thought it should be, then let's have that discussion. That's a valid argument. But don't try and say that it's within the bounds of the Constitution to do something when it's not. You know what I mean? Just say that, you know, I think the Constitution is outdated and we need to update it. And this is what I think needs to happen now in 2016, if you believe that. And if you don't, then say, you know, you don't, you know. But I don't know. That's the question that I would definitely pose to both candidates.
That's a good question. I think I probably have to ask the same one. I can't think of it. I think that one's really good because I think it's simple enough, you know, like you're not getting into detailed policies. It's just general and I think that with that question and whatever answer they'd give, you'd get a lot more insight than I think anything they said the whole past debate.
Oh, you know? No, I mean that would answer a lot of policy questions in and of itself just by them saying what they think the role of government is, you know? Mm-hmm. So,
man, you should have been there, dude. We could have fixed the country.
I should have been there. Man, I could have been that guy who's now famous on the internet because he asked some question about energy. Have you heard about that guy? Dude, he's like all over the place.
Really? I haven't seen him all over the internet, but that's weird.
Yeah, no, people love him, dude. People love him.
Well, energy's a big topic.
Apparently, he split his pants because they were too tight on him because he gained a few pounds in the last 30 years. Not my words. Those were his words. So.
Oh, all right. That's weird. That's very weird.
The world we live in.
Well, I think we should probably wrap up, man.
Yeah, man. So this has been Beyond Politics. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. Be sure and check out the Peanut Gallery podcast that we upload every Friday, where we give our unprofessional and insignificant opinions about the most important topics of the day. Remember, this has been Beyond Politics. Tell us what you guys thought about the presidential debate. Comment below. Thanks for watching.